This episode is for the women entrepreneurs who are in it, who are riding the roller coaster of business and life, feeling the highs one minute and then getting slammed by the lows the next. The ones who are wondering if the breakdown they're facing might actually be a sign they're on the verge of a breakthrough. Because here's the truth no one talks about enough. Right before you level up, everything gets harder. Your confidence wavers, your progress stalls, the setbacks come one after another. And suddenly you're not just doubting the path, you're doubting yourself. It feels like chaos. It feels like a shit show. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. We're talking about how to handle the hard, because on the other side of the shit show is the level up you've been waiting for. So if you need to have a little bit of a heart to heart, then this is an episode that you don't want to miss. Welcome to the Road to Seven podcast. I'm Shelagh Cummins, your host. I'm an entrepreneur, a mentor, an investor, a TEDx speaker, and a proud mom of 3 gorgeous children. Women entrepreneurs like you are redefining the game, breaking boundaries in your business strategy, your leadership, your success, and money while making an undeniable impact on the world every single day. The Road to Seven podcast is your go-to guide for building the business you've envisioned. No matter where you are in your journey, we're here to support, inspire, and champion your next move. Are you ready to accelerate your growth? Buckle up, because it's time to hit the road. Welcome back to the Road to Seven with Shelagh Cummins. I am your host, Shelagh Cummins, and today is the day where you and I get real. The Road to Seven is the podcast for women entrepreneurs building businesses that serve their lives, not consume them. Today's episode is for you if you are in it. And you know what I mean. The ones riding the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship, where one minute you're on top of the world, riding the high of a win, and the next you're knocked down flat on your ass, questioning everything. If that's you, this one's personal, because this past week I was there. I got hit with a significant, unexpected tax bill that came out of nowhere and just stopped me in my tracks. It knocked the wind out of me. I was absolutely in shock, and all of those PTSD from past episodes, it just sent me spiraling into fear and disappointment and doubt. And the timing, oh my gosh, classic universe, right when everything else was already intense. Does this sound familiar at all? Here's the thing though, right before you level up, everything gets harder. There's a quote that I saw that I'd like to read because I think it's so powerful and it outlines exactly what we're talking about today. Right before you level up, everything gets harder. Doubt creeps in, progress stalls, the setbacks hit back to back. Most take it as a sign to slow down, to back off, to shrink. But this isn't a warning. It's a threshold, a breaking point, a test to see if you're ready for what comes next. The ones who stop stay exactly where they are. The ones who push through, they step into a life they once thought was out of reach. I've had this process explained to me by one of my past coaches as being called crystallization. It's the painful, gritty, intense moment before everything shifts. Last week, I was on a speaking panel and we all were asked, what do you do when you have those days where you can't get out of bed? In that moment, I knew that I only had a limited time to speak. I wanted to make sure I was sharing the stage with the other panelists. I didn't want to monopolize the conversation, but I had so much more to share about that one question that I thought, hey, Maybe I'm just going to take today to talk about what I would really want to say in that moment. And everything that I'm talking about today is exactly how I handled last week's tax news. And every time I have in the past had some real setbacks in my business journey. And I think that as a collective, we don't necessarily talk about those setbacks enough. And I think that it's a process that will help you, because I know that many of you are feeling that moment of time called crystallization. And the one thing to leave with today is the idea that crystallization so frequently happens right before you level up. And a big theme across the road to seven in all of our programs is your next level and how we're going to get you there, whether it's through hiring or through leadership or through infrastructure. Whatever it is that we need to do to bring you to your next level, that's the theme that we're focused on. And so I thought, because this is such a normal part of the process, I would share what I did last week. Very first thing, do you remember as a kid, maybe you were in kindergarten, maybe preschool, and the firefighters would come in and teach you what to do if there was a fire? And the very first thing they do, and that you probably learned, is this idea of stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll. And it's had been a running joke through my childhood. We'd always look at each other anytime something was coming up and we'd sort of yell, hey, stop, drop, and roll. And we'd, burst into hysterics. But, when you are met with that unpleasantness, that moment, or the realization that things really aren't feeling that great or aren't working, remember that principle. But instead of stop, drop, and roll, let's replace it with stop, drop, and breathe. Stop and drop the phone. Step away from the laptop and breathe. You cannot take strategic action when you're in fight or flight. You can't think straight. You can't lead. You can't create. So what's your first job? To regulate. Slow your breath down. Move out of the room, move to another room, and let your nervous system catch up. This is not about powering through. This is not about reacting and responding in the immediate. This is about very strategically and intentionally taking a pause so that you don't break, you don't make a mistake, and you don't essentially sabotage everything that's coming your way. Stop, drop, and breathe is a strategy that I think we don't use enough. We don't give ourselves the grace. We live in such an immediacy world. I don't know if that's how you say it, but everything seems to need an immediate reaction, an immediate response. Everything is coming at us so fast. And one of the things we have agency over is our reaction and our response. And you're going to hear me say that a fair bit through this episode. And so when you can make that choice to just slow down and process, just slow down and take a breath, go for a walk, do something that allows you to bring your nervous system back. And then we got to do a couple other things. We've got to process the pain. Once you've been able to stop spiraling, and it might take you a little bit, then it's time to get quiet. And this isn't quiet, hey, let's grab your phone and doom scroll for the next 4 hours kind of quiet. That's helpful in different situations. But when you are in that place of crystallization, this is the kind of processing where you need to just actually sit with your thoughts. And you can't do it when you're consuming. You cannot do it when you're watching TV or you're scrolling through your phone or you're distracting yourself with something else. This is the kind of processing where we sit in the ick, we sit with the pain, and we just let it happen. These are the moments to pull out your journal. These are the moments to think slowly. These are the moments to grab a cup of tea and sit outside in the sun. This allows you to start thinking slowly, strategically, and with intention. You see, clarity doesn't come from the chaos. It comes from the stillness when you reconnect with yourself. We've got stop, drop, and breathe. We need to process the pain, which is exactly what I did. I removed myself from my office. I hit my bed. I just lay still for half an hour. And then I just processed what just happened. I went back and I tried to figure out why they were coming after me. Why now? And then I started thinking, well, what are some potential ways that I can solve this? All while crying, starting to think that maybe I should go back to work and get a job, all of the things. But I couldn't do that if I'm in the middle of scrolling Instagram or watching TikToks of people dance on a beach. The next thing we need to do in that moment is monitor your inner talk, because this is where we sabotage ourselves the most. The minute something hard happens, we default to you're so stupid. I knew this would happen. This always happens to me. And in that moment, we have to stop. This is not the first time the tax people have come knocking on my door. And listen, I know you're going to want to come after me and say, hey, well, you did your taxes wrong. You did it. Listen, it is what it is. I've dealt with it. I am dealing with it. I've got a great plan in place. I'm still standing. I'm still in business, and it's just fueling me to keep going. But in that moment, I could have fallen down oh my God, you're such an idiot. What did you do wrong? Of course, they're going to come after you. They always find you. And those were absolutely the initial thoughts that came up in my head. But I have the gift of having been evolved enough now, having received enough coaching, that I could see what my inner talk was doing. It was sabotaging my agency to take control over the next steps and to remind myself that I am in full control of my reaction and my response. And so I, in the moment, shifted to, hey, I'll figure this out. I figured it out before. If I've done it once, I can do it again. This isn't the end of the world. We just need to figure out how we're going to fix this. I just started shifting what I was saying to myself. Things like, hey, don't get worked up. This will work itself out. It always does. And the minute I could start talking to myself that way, all of a sudden, a couple solutions started appearing in the horizon and the emotions started coming down. You are in charge. And after you breathe and pay attention to what your mind says, then you consciously choose something new. Things like, I can handle hard things. I always figure it out. This is going to be tricky for a couple months, but it will not be forever. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a breakthrough. And when you give yourself that time to start planning your comeback, knowing that you don't have to respond immediately, you do not need to fix everything in the next 10 minutes. Take a break. I went to the gym. And I went outside and I went for a walk. And I don't know if you remember in COVID, if you have kids that used to video game, but they used to tell each other to go touch grass. And touch grass meant, hey, buddy, you've been on your video or your screen too often. It's time to get outside and go ground yourself again. And so that's what I did. I think I had hockey that night, so I got to go and take it out on the ice rink. I think I did a double workout so that I could move my body and sweat out the stress. Going outside, visiting with my girlfriends, and I got to ground myself because the clarity that came after that was gold. All of a sudden, I knew that I didn't have to deal with this all myself, and that I could reach out and ask for help. You know, community is everything, but not every voice in your community is helpful in this particular moment. So you got to be intentional about who you talk to and ask for help. This is the time to tap into your mentor or your coach. For me, I tapped into my accountant, who's an absolutely brilliant woman who I know has my back. And I just presented the facts, and together we came up with our game plan. She was going to call. I pulled this together. This was going to be our plan. We were going to pass it by the tax people, see how it worked. We just came up with our game plan. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just me against the world. It was us against the world. And so if you're in that period of crystallization, who is that entrepreneurial friend who you can message who gets it? Not the one that's going to blow smoke, not the one who's going to put you down. You don't need fixing. You need someone to hold space for your power, even when you can't feel it. The clarity that comes through talking through situations that aren't going well is incredibly powerful. Someone to remind you and realign you and get you back up to your place of power so you can make a very strategic decision in that moment. The next thing I think that we've got to remind ourselves, and that I know I did really well last week, and I'm saying it like that because I'm really proud of the way I handled this situation, because in the past I probably wouldn't have handled it this way. I would have gone down a spiral. I would have hid for weeks. I would have panicked. I would have done all the things. And I'm so grateful for the coaches and mentors that have been with me along my path, and the people that I have in my community that I can reach out to. And this time I chose grace over grit. The old me would have just gotten back down to business and just pushed twice as hard. The new me gave myself some grace and allowed me to choose how I respond. So the first thing I did was prioritize the tasks that had to be done that week. What were the non-negotiables where I had to show up regardless of what was happening behind the scenes? I focused only on those and I let everything else take a back seat. By creating some time and space in my calendar, I removed the pressure from myself to be in this mode of delivery and over delivering and just pushing, when all I needed was some space and grace to figure this out. That grit without the grace will burn you out. And grit with grace will build you. And the response I gave at that talk last week when I was asked what I did is, I sort of made a joke about, well, I can tell you about what I did on Wednesday, and it's exactly right. I had done all these other things first, but in that moment, I looked at the week ahead and I said, okay, what is it that I can let go for this week because it's not all that important or it can wait? And what are the non-negotiables that have to happen in this day so that I'm not sabotaging my growth? And so I responded to a couple emails that needed responding. I showed up for the calls that I needed to show up with. I, got everything out the door that I needed to get out with, but I worked a much more condensed day. Even the night before the talk, I took myself to the location the night before so that I could have a night just to myself. And it was glorious just to have that time and space. And so you do get to hold your head high. And you do take the high road and you do smile when you're ready, but you don't force it. Do it because you're choosing who you become in this moment, not because you feel you need to be a certain way. That's inauthentic. I let that group at the talk know that I was dealing with stuff. I don't think we hide that, because I think the more we understand about the entrepreneurial and the normal ups and downs, the more we're normalizing the reality of pressure that's on your shoulders and the mental load that you're carrying. When you can prioritize ruthlessly and understand and accept that not everything needs to get done right now, then you get to let go of some of the pressure. Those non-negotiables are completely at your disposal and your agency. You get to decide what's non-negotiable. Let the rest wait. I love to say to the women in my groups, you first, the world can wait. Once you've regulated and recentered and reconnected, I think one of the most powerful questions that you can ask, and I shared it with the audience, is, what is the one thing that I can do today to move forward? Sometimes that one thing is to compartmentalize whatever's just knocked you on your ass and allow yourself to distance yourself from that situation for a little bit so you can get that one thing done, and then allow yourself to come back into it. I think that is a process where you can really see what your one next step is. And what's interesting is when you look back over this process in your journey, 9 times out of 10, that one thing that you chose to do in this period of disruption and chaos and unhappiness and stress is most likely that one thing that's going to get you to your next level. It helps you prioritize what's most important. One email, one call, one action. Progress is progress. And, at the end of the day, I think we have to come back and simply trust the process. The more you've been through, the easier that sentence is. I've been at this game for a long time. I've had quite a few runs in with the tax people or with various other financial situations. This is not a new part of entrepreneurship for me. The universe doesn't hand us these tests because we're weak or there's something wrong with us. It hands them to us because we're ready. And even when it feels like you're breaking, you're actually becoming. There are some clients that I have right now that are finding that the sales cycle, it's taking a little bit longer for them to sell what it is that they sell. And the sales cycle is simply not aligning with their personal timeline. And it's hard to be actively patient in those moments. But the more times you go through that process, that crystallization before you hit the next level, the more you get to trust the process. And I keep saying to them, you're going to look back on this lull in your work, this quiet space, and you're going to wish that you had it because you're about to get a whole load of clients come flooding in. Mark my words. And I haven't been wrong yet. They have always come out of it. As long as they don't shrink, they don't step out, they don't give up, they carry on and focus on what is that one thing that I need to do today. Whatever's happening in your world right now is not the end of your story. It's the part that one day you'll point to and say, that's when everything changed. That is part of the chapter that you will write to help other people understand the journey. So it's possible that right now you're writing the turning point chapter in your life, and you're going to look back and be so proud of how you handled this tricky part of your entrepreneurial journey. My accountant and I have a great plan in place. We've already taken care of half of it. It's a nothing at this point. I know exactly what I have to do. It's all sorted out. We're good. I could not see that point of this phase of my journey a week ago when I was crumpled up in bed. And if I hadn't taken myself through these steps, then I don't think I'd be where I am today, able to even record this podcast to tell you about it. The reality is that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, and the highs can be so high, and the lows can feel like you're flatlined. But here's what I know for sure. If you can hold steady through the messy, the painful, the unexpected, you will step into a life and business that once felt out of reach. I never thought that I'd have revenue at the levels that I have right now. I never thought that I could work the hours that I work. I never thought that I'd have the flexibility and the freedom that I have. I never thought it was possible. I always thought it was for everyone else. But I didn't get here because it was easy and I just kept walking up the hill one day at a time. It takes grit. It takes resilience. And most of all, it takes resourcefulness when you can find solutions that are outside of the box. It's one of the secret powers that women hold, by the way. Those are your anchors. And so if you're in the thick of it right now, I totally see you. I get it. I've been there and I'm just coming out of it for now. There'll be something else that comes. It's the way it works. But you are not alone. So if you need to talk something through, just DM me, reach out, book a support session. This is the moment that matters. Let's walk through this together. So until next time, keep showing up, keep breathing, keep believing, because the level up is coming and you are so close. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Road to 7 podcast. If you loved today's episode and it brought you value, it would mean the world to us if you'd leave a 5-star rating and a written review. Who knows? You might get a shout out on a future episode. And please don't forget to subscribe. That way you will never miss an episode when it drops. If you're looking to connect with like-minded women entrepreneurs that are facing the same challenges as you, I'd love to connect. You'll find me on Instagram and LinkedIn, or head over to theroadto7.com to find all the links, and let's continue the conversation there. Together, we'll explore powerful ways to shift you into action and elevate your business to meet your vision of success. I'm passionate about aligning your goals with strategic, intentional steps, because that's how we'll grow your business to new heights. I believe in the power of women, all women, to shape a more impactful and positive world. Thank you again for listening. Let's keep building you on your road to 7.